What's going on, y'all, and welcome back to another Chaos Zero Nightmare video. It's a big update, so I kind of want to just do a brief guide on the Forbidden Catalyst for anyone that is still struggling on completing the what do you call it? The Nebula Distortion, I believe. Yes, the bosses here, Kentress and Family Head. And I'm talking all the way up to 9 out of 9 because you will get some additional rewards for doing so. And it's a pretty fun challenge, quote unquote fun. I didn't have a ton of fun clearing Kentress in the first few days he was out. But Family Head was much easier, so I'll discuss that. And additionally, guys, in 6 days, we will be unlocking the third boss, and it's been revealed that it is the current seasonal boss, the Void Dog, the doggo that kind of takes away your cards. He'll probably do some additional stuff. But yeah, we will see once he arrives in 6 days. So let's go and just jump straight into it. Thanks so much for tuning in. And let's start with Kentress, as I think this boss was much harder. So essentially, guys, if you just to recap on what this is, these are kind of just endgame bosses for the new seasonal content. And by adding more difficulty modifiers, right, you can add 3 at a time, you clear it, and then you go for another 3 and so on and so forth, up to 9 total. And they stack, and so that's what makes this boss quite difficult. You can get rewards though, so it is nice to try to do this at the highest difficulty and then add the distortion stacks on top of that too to achieve the maximum, right, completion. So if we just take a look at Kentress real fast. And by the way, guys, do not beat yourself up if this boss is tough. If you see people clearing this very easily, a lot of that is going to be very dependent on how good your save data is. And I'm going to break down some tips and tricks for not the save data, as I want you guys to watch the video that I just put out in terms of farming the seasonal chaos for good save data. Check that out for a few tips and tricks. But essentially, I'm going to talk about things like, memory fragment, gear, potential, characters that I did it with. But first, let's talk about Kentress real fast and look at what these kind of add up. And then we'll talk about the next boss too. But as you guys can see here, right, increased tenacity, impair, HP damage, AoE. At the start of turn, create 1 contamination card, which is very annoying. Increases HP, decreased turn draw, so that's actually huge. Once you get to the last 3 is where things get really difficult. Up to 6, I think most y'all should be able to complete if you're, at a decent level. But as y'all can see here, right, after 6 turns, monster damage greatly increases. It's like a rage effect, or essentially kind of like they put you on a clock. So if you try to stall out too long, you will not be able to tank it. So you need to have good amount of damage. Just like a lot of the end game content in this game, they really want you to have high damage and to take out the boss sooner than later, as things just get more difficult the longer you wait. Last but not least, right, you just have that one of those, modifiers. HP by 50, damage taken by 20% reduced, and then he deals 20% more damage too. So this boss is just extremely tough in general. I'm just going to jump into one. We're not actually going to do it here though, because I've already completed this, but I want to talk about some of his mechanics and just give y'all a quick run through. And then I'm going to talk about different kind of team compositions you can try and give some tips and stuff for that too. Whoops, it was actually on auto. I think I did auto the second boss, but anyways, the boss is going to summon, we'll just let the AI auto this for a little bit. Don't worry, guys, if it's playing unoptimally. The way the AI plays sometimes triggers the crap out of not just me, but you guys as well. I've noticed from my chat. So just ignore this, but essentially you guys are going to see here that he is going to summon these aqua balls, right? Lots of balls all over the place, and you need to clear these. You don't have to clear them. It's going to be dependent on what kind of team comp you're running. And you might have seen some already compilations where they're just one-shotting the boss. Some players, some teams can actually rush down the boss while completely ignoring the aqua balls. But in my opinion, right, unless you have some cracked save data or just insane gear, I think it is important to remove them, as that will buy yourself some extra turns. Now, remember what I said, you can't go on like farther than 6 turns, as the longer you wait, the boss will just do too much damage for you to handle. But clearing them is nice. Now, additionally, clearing them optimally, right, once you clear them, he will stall out a turn to resummon them again, and that's where you're going to want to try to buy yourself some time by clearing the aqua balls and then doing damage during his downtime. Now, the reason you clear these is because, if you guys can see here, let's say, yeah, he gets morale, which morale, if you don't know, does more damage, and this is kind of just the damage sort of race. Now, that's really just the gist of it. He does big damage. He summons these aqua balls. When you clear them, he'll resummon them again. You'll have a turn to do some extra damage. And then essentially it's just a race between how fast he kills you versus how fast you can nuke him down. Remember, at 6 turns, things are going to get real dicey. So you want to have high damage. Now, one other thing to note, and let's maybe go a little further. Hopefully, I think We may not be able to see it, guys, because it might take a while, and I'm not sure how much the AI is going to do damage. But essentially, he does have one additional. Well, he has a few abilities, but the main one to watch out for, besides the distortion effects, is there's actually an effect he does called Slippery. Just make note of it. Essentially, he will discard one of your cards randomly, and that can really, really ruin your game plan. So make sure you understand that mechanic. And if you're wondering why sometimes your cards are disappearing, it's because he will actually, yeah, you'll notice a slippery debuff once I believe you do enough damage, and that'll remove some cards from your hand. So not only do you have less cards once you're at max distortion stacks, but he can also ruin your combos by having that debuff. Now, let's talk about some team composition I use for Kentress real fast. I actually completed this, guys, with a Mei Lin deck. And I'm going to talk about some memory gear fragments and potentials and stuff like that as well. Just in general tips and tricks to optimize your account. Now, my gear on Mei Lin is not... actually, we have a decent set on her. I think I built a backup set for her. But my main gear right now is on Tressa, Hugo, and... who was that? I think it was Mika. That's kind of the team I'm rocking at the moment. But as you guys can see here, I run a lot of 2/2/2s. Because you can swap these between your characters very easily. A lot of characters, especially the Blackwing set and the Executional Tool set, crit damage and attack. I think right now, actually, for a lot of characters, these are, in fact, optimal. And even if they are slightly worse than, let's say, for some reason, Smilegate, Super Creative buffs some of the 4-piece sets and it ends up not being optimal, it's still probably going to be close enough. And the fact that you can swap them between all your DPS characters is just huge right now in the early stages of the game. Eventually, you'll have sets for everybody, and it'll be less important to swap gear around. But trust me on this, guys. While we are barred on our gated by resources a little bit, you're gonna want to make sure you swap gear. Set Scarab is also good too. It's just not as universal as the other two sets. But anyways, level up some nice memory gear fragment sets. This is just a backup set, so don't be looking at it too harshly, guys. But essentially, we're looking for like crit chance on the necklace. Passion or element damage on the chalice, and then on the last spot, of course, attack percent. Now that'll definitely vary depending on what character you're rocking, but that's a general rule of thumb for most DPS characters, and especially, guys, too, like for the flat attack stats, make sure you are investing in pieces, and even on the left side gear too, max them out where you can, especially like this what do we call this, slot number 1 as flat attack is very important. Now, this is just one thing, so make sure you have some great both set effects as well as leveled up gear. Now, don't worry about having perfect gear at the start. Remember, main stats on the right side, crit chance, passion or element damage, attack percent for your DPS, and DPS are always going to be your main priority. What did I say about the bosses? We're going to want to rush them down. And then left side gear, just try to have, you know, the relevant set effects. And if you can get some bonus subs too, attack, crit chance, crit damage, anything like that, extra damage if you're playing Veronica, Hugo, dot damage if you're playing Tressa, things like that will help out a lot. But make sure this piece especially, right, try to find one that's decent to invest into. That way you can get the big bonus flat attack. The reason things like that, guys, are important is not only just does attack just give you more damage, but once you start unlocking these like potential, and this is the next thing I want to talk to y'all about, is investing into a decent amount of potential. I know these are very expensive, but this is something y'all should always be working on. Try to have some, you know, your main compositions, and try not to, you know, build too many characters at the start. That way you can get the additional bonuses. But things like this will just, it really, really helps in terms of damage. And the nice thing about this is it works in Chaos. It works in the seasonal boss I was showing y'all. It works in the Basin. So these are very, very worthwhile investments for your account. But things like this will add extra damage. You want to grab these crit chance and crit damage buffs too. Just keep in mind, guys, at certain levels, you will start needing the weekly currencies here. Like this is one from Judas, the weekly bosses. And then you have these other types of stuff you can only get via, you know, achievements, zero systems, and then the shop. So just take note and try to build up, understanding your character too, right? Since Mei Lin wants some basic damage, this is one of the few times I maxed this out. Unique card upgrades are pretty good on her too, because some of her big damage comes from the set bonuses. But essentially, just make sure you have a good set of memory fragments on your main DPS, as well as invest into their potentials. Now, not only that, guys, but having some nice, this is less important, but even having, you know, some of your main supports like Mika, everybody uses Mika, is going to be nice to have too. These are just things that will help give you an edge if you're struggling, as some of these bosses can be very tough. So let's just talk about Kentress. And I actually cleared Kentress with this save data. It's nothing great. Is this the right one? If you guys can see here, look, only faint memory 50, but I was just so unlucky in getting some cards. Let me talk about this set real quick. Essentially, Mei Lin can nuke down the boss And there's some other mainland decks, guys, that'll clear this even faster, like in 1 to 2 turns, by stacking infinite amounts of the Rising Dragon Spire. This is the card I want to show y'all. But this one, for every passion card you use, you get 1 extra hit. You guys probably have seen some compilations where essentially via the unity of attack and defense, and you just cast all your cards and you get like stacking damage of Spirit of the Armada as well. Your Flame Dragon Jewel is obviously in effect. Then you just hit the boss with some huge Rising Dragon Spires. And this is one way to kind of clear the boss much easier. Additionally, if you have things like Veronica to help fuel that engine too, just find the pendant as well that has like lots of casting, the retain recursion. That'll be another way to stack up a lot of stacks of the Rising Dragon Spire. Now, for support choices, you can run Mika, and I actually did clear it with Mika. Just find a set that's good. But actually, I think sometimes if you want to use characters like Ray, Ray might even be better as, don't ignore the gear. I haven't actually gotten a good save that for Ray, but we're going to be playing Ray with like Chizuru, for example. And I think doing damage, right, in the future content is going to be very important. So Mika is very nice for areas like Chaos, but Ray, I think if you're trying to clear bosses in general, if you have a nice set for her, things like the morale, the extra damage boost, the way she multiplies your main DPS's damage is very, very important. So I think that's one great way to kind of clear that first boss. You could also use Giant Blitz on Veronica. You can clear it down with Hugo Tressa, for example, and that's actually going to be what I'm going to talk about for the second boss. But just look for your best teams. And once again, actually Yuki is very good as well, guys, on the on Kentress, the crab boss, as she just does good damage, can clear the orbs as well. But Maylin will have that passion element bonus. You can use Hugo Tressa. Just try to pick your best DPS team. And for save data farming, remember, guys, try to identify what your team wants. For Maylin, for example, we really want that Rising Dragon Spire Epiphany with the stacking passion, and then as many unities of attack and defense with the move effect as possible. So look up a guide for that character if you're playing Maylin. You guys can just simulate something similar. Remove Flame Dragon Sovereignty. Remember, guys, none of my decks either are very perfect because save data farming can be very, very redundant and you know, kind of mind-numbing. But just do what you can. Look at that guide I posted out on farming better save data and just get a decent deck for your main team. Remember, high damage is the name of the game in this endgame content. Now, the next boss, guys, Family Head. I'll be honest, I think I full autoed this, or if I didn't, it was very, very simple. I did end up using Hugo Tressa, Mika, which has kind of been the latest team I'm working on. There's a lot of different comps you can use to clear. Just remember, once again, farm some decent save data that is actually cohesive and has high damage, okay? But Hugo, Tressa in general, if you guys don't know the combo, Hugo just essentially casts his Lightning Dingos every time Tressa casts her zero-cost daggers. Let me guys show you all the save data I'm using. So essentially, you just start with Shadow Reload, and anytime you heal with Mika, we get these daggers that do very nice damage, stack dot damage, agony, and then with Hugo's Hunting Instincts, as you guys can see here, we just cast a million Lightning Dingos, and also the boss is immune to or weak to Void, excuse me. So it's going to be even better for Tressa. Now I could actually get up to 4 Shadow Reloads here because Hugo has the double AP on this Hunting Instinct upgrade, plus he has this additional draw card on this armor. And so we can actually, if you guys didn't know this, you can actually start with enough Shadow Reloads. You can have 5 Outbreak of War or Initiations in hand. So if we have 4 of these plus 2 with Hugo, we draw 1 more card, and actually that will this will give us 6 initiations at the start of the turn, and it actually prioritizes over things like Deluge if you weren't aware. But this is just kind of a side grade. You don't need that much. You could probably get away with even less than double Hunting Instinct. Try to get at least 2 Shadow Reloads, though. I think that is very, very useful if you want to have Tressa as your main DPS, and the more the merrier. This is the best one, of course, is the whenever healed, you create a Shadow Dagger. Now, that's going to be different when we play Chizuru, and if you guys want to rock Chizuru, I bet Chizuru will absolutely demolish the second boss, Kentress, as well. But the Family Head. But this boss was much, much easier. Just take my recommendation and play either Tressa or some kind of void damage. And once you clear Kentress 9 out of 9, this guy is going to be an absolute joke in comparison. But it's a similar idea. Once again, they have these kind of rage mechanics where if you take too long, you know, the boss will eventually do too much damage to out sustain. So just do as much damage as possible. And the big thing is work on your memory fragments, your potentials, and most importantly, get some cohesive save data by removing the garbage cards and getting an idea of what kind of combos you want to go for. The Mei Lin, Rising Dragon Spire, the Hugo Tressa initiation upgrades, things like that will really help you go a long way. You don't need a perfect set, but try to duplicate important cards and remove the bad ones. I'll leave you guys with that. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.